It's time for the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship. This round is MotoAmerica Superbikes at Texas. It's our 10th anniversary season, and it's our 8th round of 9 for 2024 from Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. Race number 2 for Supersport getting ready to get underway, and it is hot outside and the sun is shining and the asphalt is absorbing all of that heat. Welcome everyone to the broadcast, and welcome to the broadcast booth. I'm Greg White, standing alongside two-time national champ Jason Pridmore. Now, Jason, yesterday in Supersport, with the championship on the line, coming down to it with only a couple races to go, things got super interesting.
Yeah, and the whole paddock this morning has been a little electric with it all, with Matthew and PJ coming together in turn one, then Matthew and Martin Cardenas unfortunately crashing out. So that made it for an interesting evening, I think, for a lot of the teams. As you can see here right off the bat, there was a little bit of contact made. Matthew goes back across the track. He gets Martin Cardenas, comes up behind him and clips him. Matthew did a tremendous job getting himself back up to 16th place, but again, it was out of the points. But Jake Lewis, this was really a statement race for Jake, and I love seeing it. He would clear off into the distance. Corey Alexander initially posed a big threat to him, but had some troubles getting his Rahal Ducati in gear with a few false neutrals. He would fight back, Greg, and finished third in this race. This big battle for second was just shaping up between Blake Davis, Ty Scott, you see Mooney in there, and PJ Jacobson. But really, it was all about Jake Lewis yesterday, and a tremendous win for him and for Altus Motorsports. As you see, this tight race for second came down between Blake Davis and Corey Alexander.
It's been 10 years since this rider won in Supersport, and it was a masterful performance, dominating out front, able to get it done. And for Jake Lewis and Altus Motorsports crew, it was awesome, and he is third in the points. However, there's only 75 on offer, so it's down to Matthew Skoltz and PJ Jacobson in this one. It's only 14-point difference, and you can see their resumes, 13 podiums apiece, and it's the 0 points in race number 1 that was the difference. But luckily for Matthew Skoltz, there were some other riders that were a little bit faster than PJ, and he only lost 11 points to him.
Yeah, and I think the point standings in our 11 points, we saw PJ behind. So this championship's going to Jersey no matter how you look at it right now, and that's exciting for us. Hopefully today everybody can get through turn 1 clean, and we get a good solid maybe 5-6 riders up in that lead battle.
We mentioned it's hot and the sun is shining and it's baking the asphalt, and the third member of our broadcast team is out there in the heat, Anna Lopa.
It's certainly quite a bit hotter than this time yesterday for all of our riders out here. With Corey Alexander on the grid after a podium finish yesterday, Corey, how do you plan to keep that momentum going, and how do you hope to make an impact on the race result?
Yeah, for sure. I think we had the pace yesterday. We definitely had the bike. Just had a couple little mishaps there about halfway through the race that caught us off guard. But yeah, just going to try to get a good start again and get up there on that with those front row guys and see how the race plays out. Just wanted to give a shout out to my little sister, Sophia. She's at the hospital right now with some pneumonia. So, hi, Sophia. Miss you. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, Corey. Best of luck, guys.
Yeah, thanks. Good for the shout out for Corey, and hopefully Sophia is watching. But Jay, the question was when we got here, is the new asphalt that Circuit of the Americas laid down, how is it going to be with the tires? And so far the Dunlop tires have held up outstandingly well.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything from any of the competitors saying otherwise than that, Greg. So yeah, especially in these conditions here, and with some of the new track we have here at Circuit of the Americas. Great track, 3.4 miles long. See there, Greg, 11 lefts, 9 rights. The thing I love about this place is the variety. We've got a lot of really, really slow corners mixed in with some nice S's there you see all the way through turn 10 and a big drop down a hill. Then you have that stadium section that we always talk about, 13 through 16. A lot of interesting things can happen there. I love the turn 17, 18, especially now they repaved it. It's nice, big, long, fast right-hander just directly behind the pits. And then a lot of things can happen in those last 2 corners before you head back down that front straightaway.
So that is Circuit of the Americas. It is certainly entertaining, and it can create some close racing. It can also create some heartbreaks, as these two chirping yesterday. We'll see what they're going to bring to the racetrack today. Skoltz and Jacobson, the battle for the championship continues.
Continuing with you now live here on MotoAmerica Live Plus. A great look down the grid for the Supersport category. Race number 2 here this weekend. You see Matthew Skoltz there getting ready. That's his crew chief, Ed Sullivan, there with the hat on to his right. If you take a look at everyone that's out there, Roger, we talk about the heat, and we saw it unfold a little bit yesterday. This championship battle certainly heating up between Matthew Skoltz and PJ Jacobson. Do you think it settles it all today, or does it continue at full tilt?
I think it's going to continue. I mean, they had another disagreement on an accident up there in turn 1, and I think you're going to see them try to settle it throughout the weekend. Matt, I will say, has showed really good pace this weekend in practice and qualifying. If he gets a good start, which sometimes he doesn't. So that's the most important thing is get through turn 1 and then see where you're at.
There's P.J. Jacobsen getting himself ready. He's had 6 wins this season, 12 podium finishes. And
really, he struggled a little bit in yesterday's race. You know, down there in about 5th, worked his way up, fell back toward the end. I think we would expect it in yesterday's race. Just looked like he struggled a lot with grip, and I don't know if it was track temperature or whatever, but just struggled getting off the corners, and that was killing his drive down that long back straightaway. So hopefully they get that sorted out, because I think after we've seen Matt down, we kind of expected PJ to really get on the podium and be able to make up a couple more points.
He only finished the race 5th yesterday, and this morning in the warm-up session, though, he went out and was able to have a pace that was quicker than what he had in the race yesterday, so perhaps they were able to find something. But let's talk quickly about Jake Lewis. First time in 10 years he's been able to stand on the top box of the podium, and it came for the first time here in the Supersport category. That entire Altus Motorsports team, they made some big changes going into Mid-Ohio, and certainly able to take advantage of the opportunity presented to him yesterday.
Yeah, I actually kind of thought maybe it might happen in Mid-Ohio, the pace that he had there, but was able to get it done yesterday. And just a great ride for Jake and his team, and for the Altus Motorsports crew to be able to get that win. Jake definitely does not lack talent, and he's getting a great opportunity this year to show it. He's taken advantage of it since Mid-Ohio. He's had a couple other podiums this year in Supersport, but yesterday he got a good start. He put his head down and he checked out. He didn't wait around and get caught up in anybody else's mess, and it really worked out for him.
Yes, through the first 15 races, we have only had 4 different winners here in the Supersport category. You see Corey Alexander there. He had to sit out a couple of races, so not going for the championship in terms of points, but certainly looking to go into the offseason on a high note. We already know he'll be back in Supersport next year, again with the Rahal Ducati organization. So he is just looking forward right now and hoping to move up onto the top set of the podium. It's time for Supersport Racing. We're going to go back over to Greg and Jason.
MotoAmerica Supersport coverage is brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
Supersport race number 2 getting ready to start as riders out on their warm-up lap, which is kind of funny considering it's nearly 100 degrees outside.
Yeah, right.
You still got to get it done. Hey, by the way, fans of MotoAmerica can pick their favorite riders for a chance to win money. Available on your favorite sport books and daily fantasy sites like DraftKings and Underdog Fantasy. Visit nxtbets.com/playma for exclusive sign-up bonuses for new players and receive bonus cash. Available in legal states. Check out nxtbets.com/playma to see where you can play in your state. Now, it is hot outside, and so we had plans to talk to someone else. But Hannah, what do you know about Jake Lewis?
Yeah, absent from his motorcycle, noticeably so, on the grid. I hunted him down. He was sitting on the pit lane under his team's canopy. I said, what's going on? He's just trying to get cool, had a towel around his neck on top of his head, drinking some water. We talked about the weekend because he's got 3 different classes today, so this is his second of 3 races. He needs to conserve energy as best as he can with how hot it is out here. We talked about the bike. He said, made some changes. I said, what were you looking for? And he said, to win, and got up and walked out to the grid.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did it yesterday. He's going to be hungry to do it again. And, the thing is that, Hannah's exactly right. When you're racing 3 classes in a weekend like he is, these are the kind of weekends when you kind of dread it a little bit. And, but again, tremendous. He's had a great weekend so far, by the way. So on pole, Matthew Skoltz, Ty Scott, P.J. Jacobsen rounding out the first row. Then we have Jake Lewis, Corey Alexander, and Filippo Fellini. What a nice welcome it is to see him here. Blake Davis. Cardenas, I didn't see him line up, Greg, in the middle of the 3rd row, which is be a shame. Linares, Mesa, Anthony, and Kayla back there in row number 4. Gerardo, Max Van, and Aiden Sneed. Then we have Teague Hobbs, Torrin Collins, and Enriquez, all looking to get more forward. Nassani Soltis and Owen Williams. Then we have Chase Black, Riston Grigg, and De Leon. Rivera, LaRoche, Zaragoza, Aristine, Vandal, and Joel Oman. And then we have Medina and Rizzo rounding out your top, or rounding out our grid. So, you know, Greg, again, this first turn here is tricky. And I've talked to a number of people down in the pits today, a number of people. And it's just one of those things. We've raced here long enough at Circuit of the Americas. Everybody knows it's a difficult one to get through kind of on that first lap. You got to give a little bit of room up there to get through that first turn. And you got to give as good as you get, too. So the thing is, you want to be aggressive, but there's a controlled aggression. It's the first time you're going through it. We got 11 more laps to get through that thing. And just want to get everybody through there safe.
Yeah, it doesn't look like Martin Cardenas is going to be starting this race. We're not quite sure why. I know this morning when I went to talk to the team, they said that he was okay after the incident yesterday. So we're not really sure if maybe something happened this morning, maybe, you know, a failure with the bike or whatever. So that 8th place grid position wide open. But it's time to get racing. Skulls, Jacobson, the rivalry. And we're away. Race number 2 in Supersport. Here we go to turn number 1. It looks like Vision Wheel M4 Star Suzuki's Ty Scott going to lead the way. He comes across the wheel of PJ Jacobson, and he's there. And where is Skulls in the mix? He's third. So there's Matthew Skulls. Good start for him. And it looks like Jake Lewis is there in 4th place.
It looks like PJ's trying to sneak up the inside. He makes that pass work over Ty Scott there. So PJ Jacobson with a tremendous pass on the initiation of these S's. And it's, again, Greg, this is a good spot to be. This is fairly one line through. Now, you can make some passes, as you see Matthew Skulls trying to do that right off the bat. But the thing is it can be difficult, especially when everybody's on new tires. They have a lot of grip. So you've got Jake Lewis there in 4th. Looks like Fellini got a good start also. He's going to be rounding out our top 5 as they go down that steep turn 10 hill for the first time.
125 degrees on the track. It is a scorcher out there, as looks like the number 11 holding off the number 85 for the moment. Onto the back straightaway they go for the first time in this race. And it is PJ Jacobson who leads the way.
And I would see if Jake Lewis can try to get in that draft of Matthew Skulls and do anything with him when they get down to the end of the back straightaway here. Ty Scott's going to take a shot at getting back to the front. And Jake Lewis is doing the exact same thing right behind them. So the 2 Suzuki riders make passes on the bikes in front of them as they head down there into 12. Jake Lewis Matthew Skulls fires right back on Jake Lewis, though. So now PJ and Matthew are just separated by a couple of bike lengths as they head off into the latter part of the stadium section here. And Jake Lewis goes stuffing back up the inside of Matthew Skulls, only to run wide a little bit. So obviously things are getting really racy at the front.
So Matthew Skulls on this track racing Yamaha R6, your championship points leader, getting roughed up by the 85 Altus Motorsports rider Jake Lewis, yesterday's race winner. Of course, Altus Motorsports, that dealership that is literally 6 hours straight up from where we are here in Austin, Texas. And participating here in MotoAmerica Supersport and other classes. And it's the Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki leading the way from the Rahal Ducati Moto with Expel. And speaking of that team, there is the 23 of Corey Alexander back there in 7th place.
You can see Blake Davis also has moved himself into 5th. Our 2nd place finisher from yesterday, who's got a nice little podium streak going on here quietly at the end of the year. Blake Davis was on a very fast motorcycle yesterday and riding the wheels off it as well. So he's trying to get himself up there into this battle with these top 4. Hannah.
So yesterday, Corey Alexander admittedly had a shifter problem. They did change the shift lever, but he also told me he's wearing a size smaller boots today than normal to really make sure that shifter cooperates. So a little bit challenging. He told me he normally wears like an 11.5, and he's a whole size down from that.
Yeah. Yesterday when I saw him before I left the track, he's like, Jason, I'm looking for a size 9 boot. And I looked at him like, for what? And I thought, you know, as hard as it might be to shift with a bigger boot on, the comfort is not going to be there for you if you get something that small. So I'm happy it's only a size smaller rather than 2 sizes smaller. But you can see he's back there a little bit right now is the 23. He felt like he had pace. You can also see Mesa and them back there. The only guy that's been able to kind of manage that gap and bridge it so far is Blake Davis. You see a good pass from Matthew Skoltz on PJ here in the middle of those S's. Now look on the right side of your screen. PJ Jacobsen goes right to the front. Matthew Skoltz is going to follow him through on Ty Scott as well. So the two championship leaders have found themselves in a very familiar position again, Greg.
Yeah, and then the 22 right there in the N2 Racing bobblehead moto. Blake Davis right on the back of them now as there's a little bit of gap back to Foglini on the 222 Honos Ducati Panigale V2. So a couple lead changes so far in this lap, but it's going to be PJ Jacobsen who leads us through the tight infield section, heading back towards the start-finish line. And look at the corner speed from Skoltz.
Yeah, Matthew has a lot of pace in and along through that right-hand corner there. So that's going to be an interesting thing to see. I'm sure, you know, as a rider, you start to look at the places where you could be a little bit more dominant than everybody else so that you know prior to that sector, if I can make a pass here, I might be able to get away from people. The person in 5th right now just did the fastest lap of the race in a 2:14.7. Our first 5 riders are all in the 14s comfortably. As you see PJ defending already as they go up into turn 1. He's just trying to control that apex speed in the middle of turn 1 and then shoot that Ducati down the hill.
If you're a fan of MotoGP and you often hear that riders following other riders and front temperatures going through the roof and all this kind of stuff, not really a factor here in Supersport in the sense that we don't have really those devices that are going to be measuring tire temperatures. So it's all done on feel as Skoltz continues to stalk PJ Jacobsen. This is the battle for the championship, and Skoltz has done that now a couple times in a row.
He made that pass stick the last lap through. So the thing you have to remember is Skoltz looks like he's got a lot of roll speed in some very important places. His goal is obviously going to be to try to lead through those S's, Greg. That's what he's going to want to try to do. He's got to figure out a way to get by PJ before they get up to turn 1, lead through those S's. You can see PJ's pretty defensive, and it's allowing Matthew to keep that roll speed up in the middle. PJ's relying on the grunt of that Ducati on the exit of the turns to be able to pull him out from entering as tight as he is. So, and as they head down this back straightaway now, it looks like Blake Davis is going to try to get by, and he does. He gets by Jake Lewis. So, and you can see in the back in the distance there, 5th place, Corey Alexander now has got through on Foglini, although that looked like it could have been challenged as they were going down into turn 12 as well. Nope, Corey still got that position. So, front 5 at the front, PJ, Matthew Skoltz, Ty Scott, Blake Davis now 4th, and Jake Lewis, all kind of stretching away a little bit.
Starting to gap themselves to 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th back there. Now up on the off the edge of the tire, onto the meat of the tire goes the 15, trying to get a good drive here in the Supersport category.
Look at that. Look at that Yamaha turn.
Just carves right underneath him for the lead.
Yep. Yep. And that is something for Matthew that he has had the ability to do. I'll go back and reflect all the way back to Barber, Greg. You and I sat there watching that bike. He was able to put it absolutely anywhere. So they have definitely found a setting in that bike all year long that seems to have worked for him. Hannah.
You're absolutely right, and it's working so well that he's essentially on the exact same setup as yesterday. He knows he has the bike and the pace to pull this off. He did the quickest lap of the race with 3 to go yesterday with bent bars. Something he did tell me is a bit concerning for him is that in the first gear corners, he's worried about the bike jumping out of gear.
Yeah, that is definitely a problem in those first gear corners because, Greg, it's a lot harder to get a bike all the way back into that first gear. So, but you can see what happened there. He wasn't quite able to lead through these S's. And look at this pace that he'll have, especially at the beginning of this shot on the right-hander. See how he's rolling up on the back there, Greg? That is just simply now, he wants to get the drive out of here. He's already shown PJ one time that he can make that pass there. But I think for Matthew, he's got to try to get a big enough gap down that front straightaway where he can lead through all this sector.
And the Yamaha R6, known as one of the more agile motorcycles available in this field. But when it comes down to it, Blake Davis has gone from 4th to 3rd. He's looking for another position. Is he going to try to go up the inside? No, he just looked to the inside, but he's not going to make the move. You can see Skoltz. It looked like, Jay, that Skoltz is trying to slow it down ever so slightly to try to get a run through that corner onto the back straightaway. But
look at this.
It's going to be the 22 who passes. So R6 versus R6, and Blake Davis.
Oh, he's going to have another go.
You think so? Here he goes up the inside. Look at the shadows on the track, and Davis is going right for the apex. PJ's going to see him there. And Blake Davis, has he get it stopped and turned? A little bit. Whoa! And PJ, he lost a spot, and hand goes in the air, and now all of a sudden PJ's going to fall victim to Tyler Scott.
Yeah,
and Jake Lewis, no, he'll hold on to 4th.
It's one of those things where the racing up front, you got a guy right now in the 22. He wants to go win his first Supersport race. We've seen Blake Davis knocking on the door, and definitely this last half of the season, he has shown a lot of speed. So now it's a matter of, you can see, he's going to open that door initially. Look at where Matthew is. Matthew's going to be able to square this corner up. So when PJ gets ran just a little bit wide, it's allowed Matthew to come up underneath. So right there, there's nothing honestly wrong with what I just saw there. Nothing was really bad. So Ty Scott also sneaks through. So PJ just got to get his head back down, get on the back of these guys, and because I think there's going to be some racing up here at the front between the three of them.
PJ with a little leg out, probably signaling to the pit board on the front straightaway that he sees what's going on as they go into turn number 1, in and out. Still the same. Blake Davis, Matthew Skoltz, Tyler Scott, PJ Jacobson, and Jake Lewis on the back of his performance from yesterday, the dominating win. Now back in 5th place, and then Corey Alexander has gotten.
Wow, look at that thing.
Oh my
he can just
goodness.
turn it anywhere he wants. He can turn that bike. So it might be a little bit difficult for him to make this one, but now look at, he can turn it back here, and he's going to be able to maybe do something. I mean, Greg, the thing is this is exactly what Matthew needs. He needs to be able to pull a big enough gap, though, to where he doesn't get drafted down that back straightaway. And right now, Blake's got a pretty fast motorcycle underneath him, so he's able to draft back past the 11 down this back straightaway. But for Matthew, if he's just got to be able to lead through those S's the first time.
Onto the back straightaway they go. Hannah, Blake Davis in second, trying to get a draft.
And Greg, Blake admittedly is not known for his race starts. Yesterday was really revealing to him that he needed to get a better start and get out front earlier with this lead group if he was going to be able to stick with them. That first lap was going to be crucial. So he's really learning a lot. Where he was offline or slow, he's made some progress for sure. And hey guys, it's the first time he's ever ridden at this track.
Oh yeah,
pretty impressive.
The thing with the Circuit of the Americas too, it's 3.4 miles, and so we get the normal time we get in practice, and you don't get as many laps as other tracks.
But watch this. When they get into this big long turn 18 and 19, you can see that gap right now is about 2 bike lengths.
Oh,
there's a missed gear. Now Matthew's got the brake he needs. This is where he's got to get his head down and pull away from these guys. He's going to be faster than them through this whole right-hand section on this big long right. He's going to pull out to 10 bike lengths at least, Greg, probably. Now he's got the brake that he needs. Once he sees that these guys don't go back by him down the front straightaway, that's going to give him a big boost of confidence. This guy here, Corey Alexander, 2:15.1 on the last lap prior to this. He caught a lot of the, he caught up to these guys quite a bit. So he's still charging from a bad start. You can see Corey coming off that last corner. But like I said, for Matthew Skoltz, leading through these S's is going to be a big thing for him.
Maybe getting used to that size 10.5 boot. So he can shift better as well is Corey Alexander.
Blake Davis went all the way back to 5th. So 2:14.7 for Corey Alexander that time by. But look at what happened here. Fastest lap of the race for Matthew Skoltz at a 2:14 flat. So that's exactly what was needed. Now that's that thing that Hannah was talking about. When we go back to first gear, if you miss that second to first gear, it can get a little bit sloppy and you can't turn the bike in. But you watch the gap that this guy's going to pull away through these S's now.
This is the scenario he was dreaming about yesterday. He's had to fight for it with 6 laps remaining, but now Matthew Skoltz has clear track in front of him. What's he going to be able to do with it? For Blake Davis, trying to find his way back toward the front, but he's got Jake Lewis, yesterday's race winner, in his sights. The middle part of this racetrack as Davis is going to try up the inside, but Lewis so good on the brakes. Heading on to the back straightaway we go. We've seen the 22 draft the 85 before. He's going to pull out of the draft. He's going to slingshot by and motor on down the road.
Yeah, and see Ty Scott does his quickest second split of the race. Ty Scott's on a good lap here, and it's allowing him, but you can see when Matt takes the lead, it's starting to split that group up a little bit because the pace is going to get a little bit quicker. So all of your first 2, maybe 3 bikes here, they're all going to do fast laps. Blake Davis and Corey Alexander back there, they both did kind of the same split in the second split, but for right now, this is, there you go, Blake Davis. I mean, Ty Scott, a little bit wide.
Little wide for the Vision Wheel M4XR Suzuki rider. It doesn't look like it harmed him much. PJ Jacobson on the Ray Hall Ducati Moto with Expel. Sitting back there in 3rd. Blake Davis starting to gap himself on the N2 Racing bobblehead Moto Yamaha R6 from the Altus Motorsports GSXR 750 of Jake Lewis. Now, this is next generation Supersport Racing. If you hadn't watched MotoAmerica in quite a while, next generation is the balancing through electronics that has all these different motorcycles be competitive. And right now, the Yamaha R6 of Matthew Skultz at a 2:13.838 goes fastest lap of the race on lap number 6 with 5 to go.
And 13.8 from PJ, 13.9 from Blake Davis. Ty Scott 14 flat, so there's nothing in it. But this guy here has pushed the pace, and he's testing the riders behind him right now to see if they can keep up.
Like what I'm seeing from Ty Scott. He's looking good. He's had an up and down season, has this young rider from Pennsylvania, but it's a matter of putting the pieces together. There are some teething issues, of course, with this motorcycle. This is a GSXR 750 that is converted to a throttle-by-wire system, which allows MotoAmerica to balance these motorcycles. That's why you see a 750 versus a 600. And, of course, you have that 999cc twin, the V2, behind him, the number 15 PJ Jacobsen, also balanced using electronics. Here comes Corey Alexander, teammates to PJ Jacobsen, but he's on the Ray Hall Ducati Moto with roller die and forming. And of course, that livery is a massive hit inside of the MotoAmerica. Paddock J, your thoughts on the livery?
It's different. It's Corey, though, for sure. So he's got a lot of design skills. PJ Jacobsen goes up underneath Ty Scott at the end of the back straightaway. He's going to try to make this pass stick. As you see, Ty Scott does a bit of a wheelie on the exit. So PJ Jacobsen now knows the task he's got in front of him. If he wants to try to steal some more points away, he's going to have to bridge almost a full second gap now. It was 0.9 when they came through last time, and Matthew was on another very, very fast lap. First split was not one of his best, but second split was his best. Third split so far is the fastest of the race. So Matthew, does he have a problem? Something just happened. No, something just happened in the middle of that corner that we didn't see. So maybe we'll get a shot of that. But Matthew either lost the front or had something happen in the middle of that corner that caused a big slow up.
Well, I know that he's been looking down at his dashboard when he's getting into these slower corners.
Let's have a look.
When he goes to the top of the hill, Jay, he's been looking, and here turn 1 where we're getting, he's been looking down at his dashboard. I've noticed it for a couple of laps.
There you go, Greg. It's going to be a big slide right in the middle. And that right there.
What a save.
He has been so fast through there, as we have said, but there's that limit. So there he found the limit through there, and he can see also that he had a big enough gap. So now he's got to put that head back down again. That was a 14.5, and we knew he was on a quick lap by the splits that I had spit out just prior to seeing that.
Yeah, that Sector 3 split, the fastest one of the race so far, to 33.605, and then it was in Sector number 4 where we've seen 29s, and it was in the 30s for him. But Skultz with his head back down, and now...
And Blake Davis as well is trying to get himself back in this after what we saw, right? That was pretty, false neutral. There it is right there.
By the way, Matthew Skultz just answered after that incident. Sector number 1, he sets the fastest Sector 1 split of the race, 37.446. And it's 0.3 of a second, the difference between Skultz and Jacobsen just in the first sector. And it looks like Corey Alexander has been able to get around Jake Lewis. So there comes the New York native, Corey Alexander. There is a lot of racetrack between himself and Blake Davis at this point, nearly 5.5 seconds. So we'll see if Corey can get to work. I'm not sure that it's going to help him if he doesn't have Jake Lewis there to draft with him back and forth. But down the back straightaway, coming off of it.
So now we're going to see that quartet up in the front starting to kind of get a little bit closer together there. PJ was able to get a 10th back in that second split, as was Ty Scott, right on the back of PJ. So they are definitely trying to claw onto the back of Matthew. That scare a lap ago will definitely send a sign out to Matthew that, okay, I found that limit there in the middle of that corner. It's a really hard place. I mean, it's a scary place to do it because you're pushing so hard through that big long right, and you feel like the bike is so underneath you that when it snaps like that, it could have gone bad really quickly. So let's see the kind of lap time that Matthew responds with. You said, Greg, that he did the fastest first split of the race right off the bat. I expect this to be back into the 13s or low 14 again. 13.6, fastest lap of the race from Matthew Skultz.
So Skultz trying to just create a big enough gap where he can't get challenged. And there goes Ty Scott. He's so deep into turn number 1. Is he able to get the bike slowed? He is, and he gets it turned. So a good pass from Ty Scott on that Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki. Now, he just did the fastest lap of his race, Jay, at a 13.7, just a tenth or so behind what Skoltz was able to do, as did Blake Davis back there in 4th.
Yeah, absolutely. Blake Davis just a tick off the fastest lap of the race. And this is, for PJ right now, he's got to be thinking to himself, all right, I got to try to get second, and I don't want to give up any more than 5 points. The worry is he's got a very fast young man right behind him who's going to be hungry to find himself another podium.
About 2.5 laps to go. Supersport race number 2 here at Circuit of the Americas in our penultimate round of the championship. And this guy, number 11 on the Strack Racing Yamaha R6, goes sector 1, fastest split again. He does not want to mess around with these riders. He's got a 14-point lead in the championship, and he's trying to capitalize and make the most of his points and then let what's going on behind him sort itself out. And I know that Skoltz would love for the 22 of Blake Davis to be able to put P.J. Jacobsen behind him by the time this race ends, but we still have about 10 miles of racing to go.
Yeah, and he's continuing to push, and he's going to see, on his board, is that another little mistake?
By Matthew.
Yeah, like something else happened there too, because that gap was a lot bigger when he went into the braking zone going down there into turn 12. So not exactly sure what happened, but all of a sudden they're drawing up onto the back of him again. So I'm going to look at this, look at the splits. And
he lost half the split time.
He lost almost a full second to Blake Davis.
It was 1.4 to Ty Scott, now down to 0.6 of a second.
Yep. So I'm not sure if he missed a gear going down in there, but it's given Ty Scott another big jolt of life. And Ty Scott's going to do everything he can with 2 laps to go to close this gap down even more.
Ty Scott doesn't care that the 2 riders, one in front, one behind him, are involved in this championship. Ty Scott's focused on one thing, getting race wins and standing on top of the podium for his Vision
Will M4 Suzuki there. So
that's pretty close.
I'll get it
Vision
out.
Will M4 Suzuki, you got it.
So trying to help you out there, G-Dub.
Thanks.
So anyways, so this is the spot though where Matthew has been doing all his damage. 37.4 to 37.7 the last time through, from first to second, and PJ was the second rider through here on the last time through. So let's see if Ty can kind of close that gap up again.
He got another 10th back, so it's now half a second between Skoltz and Scott.
Yep.
And we're able to see the left part of your screen, our scoring pylon. When they go through the splits, he's able to eke out another 0.3 of a second is Skoltz on Scott. So we know that Ty Scott's looking forward, but P.J. Jacobsen definitely doesn't want to give up the extra points. Between first and second is 5 points. Between first and third is 9 points.
Matthew just kills him through there, though. Like, again, it's 0.3 of a second over Ty. And then you have PJ at 37.5. Blake Davis goes 37.4. He actually matched the leader's pace through that split. So a lap earlier, I saw PJ look back over his shoulder coming out of that turn 10 there, and he saw that the 22 is still behind him. Here you go. Now is PJ going to try to make a pass? Looks like he is on Ty Scott. He's not quite close enough, though. Ty Scott continues to hold that. As you see, it's a 23-point lead with about a lap and a half to go here for Matthew Skoltz. He'd love to take 23 points into Jersey.
He would love it. There'll be 50 points remaining in this championship when this race concludes. Now, I will say that for the number 70 bike, Tyler Scott, there is a track limit warning that is up there for him. So he's got to be careful to make sure that he keeps his motorcycle within the track limits. If he wants to stand on that podium, P.J. Jacobsen would like nothing more. But here comes Blake Davis, who's had such a charge to the front. And now it hasn't quite had that same momentum towards the front for Blake Davis. Might be a situation, Jay, where Blake is just holding on here to see how things unfold as we get ready to go to 1 lap to go.
Matthew's going to have a good look at his board to see what his gap is, and it's a second. He pulled out half a second, Greg. How about he goes 13.5, fastest lap of the race heading into the last lap. And look at this, Blake Davis trying to get his R6 up the inside of P.J. Jacobsen. So, I mean, there are still points at stake here that P.J.'s got to really, really try to worry about. We're going to his home track next. P.J.'s got a ton of laps around New Jersey. He's got to feel good about that, but I guarantee you, giving up these extra points right now to Matthew is going to frustrate him.
And of course, for Yamaha, they would love nothing more than Blake Davis to put himself in between Skoltz and Skoltz's championship rival, P.J. Jacobsen. So Matthew Skoltz, track racing Yamaha R6. He's had a great day of racing. He hasn't had it easy, but on this final lap, he's got a big gap So even if something goes minorly wrong, which you've seen a couple times during this race, Schultz has got a great gap going on right now. But again, forcing the issue is Schultz, 37.366, Sector 1, fastest sector of the race for Schultz, as he is just setting sail off in the sunset.
Yeah, that's that again. And again, he's got a fastest second split of the race for him personally. So he's still on a ripper here. And really, Greg, when you know that you had a full second lead, and look at Blake Davis, he's doing his best right now. Not quite there. He couldn't quite get past PJ. So, but for Matthew, he probably saw that he had a second lead on the field and just rips the first two sectors. And at this point here, he's just got to bring that R6 home.
So after a disaster day yesterday for the 11, Matthew Schultz with a few corners to navigate, trying to score maximum points, 25 to win this race. Ty Scott trying to hold on to his second place currently, as PJ Jacobsen looking for a way around and grab that 4 points back from Ty Scott. But all eyes on this guy. What a run he has had. PJ not able to make the pass.
Oh, no.
He's
PJ
down.
crashes. Oh, man.
Unbelievable. PJ Jacobsen crashes on the final lap with 2 corners to go. Schultz is going to come across the stripe, set the fastest lap of the race on the last lap. It's going to be Ty Scott, Blake Davis, and PJ Jacobsen. Didn't even look like he was able to scramble to try to get that bike off the ground. And it's got to be Corey Alexander ahead of Jake Lewis. So PJ trying to get his bike out of the kitty litter and score any points he can, any valuable points in this championship. That's going to blow things wide open. There's still 50 points available, so even if PJ's not able to get across the line in 15th, the championship won't be decided today, but it'll be blown out.
That's it. No points now. The 15th, Alfonso Linares has already gone across the start-finish line, so no points for PJ here. That's devastating, for him and for that whole Rahal Ducati team. So let's have a look, Greg. He goes in a little bit tight, and the thing is he's been kind of running that line anyways. He's just in there, just ever so slight. You're going to see the front just start to fold. It's maybe just a little bit of a bump. You saw that too, didn't you?
Just a couple
little bump in, just a little bit tighter in that front tux.
Heartbreak for PJ Jacobsen and his crew. Wow, what a season he's been able to put together on the Rahal Ducati Moto with Expel. The season, first year that Rahal has been here in the sport. And for PJ Jacobsen, it's going to be 19th place. But this guy, Matthew Schultz, he put his stamp on this championship. Look at the race pace. Wow. He just kept setting fastest laps of the race, those 13s, and he set 13.5 on lap number 9 as fastest lap of the race and bettered it. Dude, 0.2 of a second away from doing 2:12.
I mean, that's amazing, especially on your last lap. That's just crushing, and it's too bad that things ended up the way that they did yesterday. And but today he's going to be pretty happy about this now, and he's going to be even happier to see his points lead, which we'll see after the break.
Yeah, and you'll want to join us after this to talk to him and to find out our results, because there's a couple of great stories behind Matthew Schultz.
Continuing here on MotoAmerica Live Plus as we watch Matthew Schultz on the cool-down lap. Roger Hayden, it looked like he might have just saw the scoring pylon or something coming through and realized all of a sudden that PJ Jacobsen wasn't there.
Yeah, he's definitely looking to see. We see PJ there, picked up his bike, not able to get points. But Matt, focusing on where PJ is, trying to see it scoring pylon. Since it happened on the last lap, the team wouldn't have time to relay any messages to Matt. But that's just unfortunate for PJ. But Matt, man, what a performance he put in, and especially that last lap being the fastest lap of the race. He has showed this pace all weekend. He's been really fast in the practice and qualifying, and once he got out front, he put his head down. The other guys, a couple mistakes, almost a crash in turn 18, but he just charged through the whole from start to finish.
That was a huge save that he had early on in the race. Talk about race pace and consistency. Being able to do his last lap being his fastest lap of the race, and then slowly building up to that for Matthew Schultz going forward. In terms of momentum and confidence, what will this do for him?
Well, I think now that the pressure's off of him a lot going into the last race in New Jersey. He doesn't have to win. He doesn't have to get involved in any battles with PJs. We see right here. Just watch the front end. PJ's in a little bit tighter than. You see that the front end starts to go, and once it went, he was going so fast, and he didn't have time to save it. Sometimes you see a rider save a front end slide like that on their elbow, but it went so quick he didn't have the opportunity to pick that up on his elbow.
Really shows you how on the edge these riders are each and every lap, putting all of it on the line for PJ Jacobsen. When we watched it in real time and watching him slide across that fresh asphalt, not being able to get to the bike, he was eventually, as you see, able to pick it up and cross the checkered flag, but it was in 19th place, so not being able to earn any points here today.
Also, I think PJ might have been setting up on the inside to try to get a run maybe on Tyler Scott and be up the inside, headed into turn 20 and try to make that pass for second. See, his windscreen's broke from that almost crash in turn 18.
Oh, you can. Yep, that's what he was trying to show there. How big of a distraction is that, Roger?
Well, you think of aerodynamics down the back straightaway, that hole there, and I don't think it's, not really a huge distraction because you kind of see it, it's there, but you're definitely going to see it, and going down that long back straightaway, there's going to be some, it's going to be less aerodynamic for sure.
Lots of congratulations there for Matthew Skolch. You see Peter Strack there with them. He makes his way back over to the bike. Tyler Scott there, a strong ride for him today, being able to finish on the podium again for the 4th time this season. 2nd place today.
Yeah, really good ride for Tyler. He put up a great fight with both those guys, Matt and PJ, and Blake Davis there rounding out the podium. What a ride for him. He had that mistake and lost a couple seconds to the leaders and was able to fight those guys down toward the end. And toward the end of the race, he was putting in some of the fastest laps and the only guy really matching Matthew's lap times.
As they all get ready for interviews with Hannah Lopa, we'll send it back over to Greg and Jason.
All right, welcome back to Supersport. MotoAmerica here in Austin, Texas at Circuit of the Americas. And let's take a look at some of the things that we saw, Jay. And this looks like Matthew Skolch. Jay, what do you think?
I think he's probably looking up at a screen and doesn't see PJ's name anywhere, in the top 15. So it would look like maybe, and we can ask him here in a minute if that's what he was looking at the board at the end. You get a good look here at the results. Matthew goes on and does that 13.2 on the last lap to win by 2 seconds over Ty Scott. Blake Davis keeping that podium going again. Corey Alexander, Jake Lewis, Gerardo. Great run from Kayla today, getting herself up to 7th over Mesa, Torrin Collins, and Max Van with another top 10.
All right, let's get that on Hannah, who has our winner.
A really important victory for Matthew Skolch, but we saw you looking up at the end there. When did you realize that PJ had gone down?
Blake Davis told me coming around the first corner, so I kind of knew then, but I just wanted to confirm things and look up at the board. Obviously, I don't want to see PJ crash. Yesterday, a similar deal happened to me. I touched somebody and went down. Obviously, the rivalry is fierce, but we don't like to see each other crash. Overall, just a big thank you to the Strack Racing family. They've given me a beautiful bike, and it's been working really well. I think we led every single session. Just looking forward to the final round and trying to bring the championship home.
There was a couple different moments there where it seemed like maybe there was a mistake. What was going on with the bike?
I just nearly had a big high side out of the carousel corner, just trying to get a little bit eager on the throttle, trying to pull a gap on PJ. And then maybe the 3rd to last lap, I hit a false neutral coming off the back straight, but fortunately it didn't happen again after that. And just one more thing, we lost a brilliant rider, Lucas Salvadori, in the German championship, so just sending condolences to his family.
Thank you, Matt. Congrats, guys.
Yeah, always a class act, and that was a really nice thing to say. And the other thing, too, is when we go back to that unbelievable save that Matthew Skolch had, look at the center of his windscreen there. There's a hole in there. Is that a rock, or was that part of the unbelievable save? Did his head go over the top of it? That's a clean break. They've given him an unbelievable motorcycle, but he brought it back. They're going to need a new windshield.
Yeah, they're going to need a new windshield. I'm sure they can afford that now.
Here's the save. Let's take a look. So he goes up and over
the top. Yeah, smashes the chin bar of the helmet right in the center of that windscreen. Little extra air coming through there in this hot conditions.
What a save. Let's get back down to Hannah.
Second place today, Ty Scott. A little bit of redemption for you today, perhaps, after missing out by a hair yesterday.
Yeah, fourth yesterday. Not really happy about that performance. We're trying to be on top of the box, but I got to give a big thanks to the whole Vision Wheel M4 XR Suzuki team, all the hard work they've put in the second half of this season. Chloe, Kyle, Dustin, my crew chief, everyone part of the team helping us out, getting the bike dialed in. Kyle for making it possible again for us to put the bike on the podium, and one of my personal sponsors, Jerry from Roof Systems, actually located here in Dallas, Texas. If you guys need a roof, go hit him up. Really great guy, and I couldn't really ask much more of the bike today, struggling with a little bit of the front end, but overall I had a great feeling and it was a fun race.
2 more races left in the season. Will we see Tyler on top of the podium?
Yeah, that's the plan. The last 2 races are in New Jersey, my home track. So I'm really accustomed to that track. They repaved it, so it should be really fast for this year, and hoping to be back up on the box again.
Ty Scott, second place today.
I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes for sure. I mean, always when you go to, at this level, Jay, tracks are tracks, but home tracks, always something special.
And we get such a great crowd at New Jersey every single year. Obviously, we're always worried about the weather, but with that new repave, it's going to be good. And we've got some of these guys from New Jersey that is their home track coming home for the final round.
Let's go down to Hannah with Blake Davis.
Third place today and a double podium weekend for Blake. Things seem like they're really starting to come together for you. What's really working well?
Really, I've been working on, just small things a lot. Some bad technique and stuff like that I've really been working on. The bike's always dialed in. The team's done amazing. The whole N2 Bobblehead Moto team has just been amazing all season. And I'm not sure where Jake finished, but hoping I claw some points back up on him, trying to get top 3 in that championship. So, yeah, I mean, the Dionysi, KYT, Sunstar, SBS, really just everyone that's helped me out. They've been amazing, and hopefully we'll be back on the podium in New Jersey.
We saw you out front leading some laps here at a track that you've never been to, heading into New Jersey, a track you're quite familiar with. What are the odds that we see you get a win?
Honestly, I couldn't really hear any of that, but my earplugs are in, I'm sorry, but I think running up front was amazing. I didn't expect to be there at all. I was running some amazing lap times compared to what I was doing before, so I was really happy with that, and I hope I can have good pace in the future.
Important to protect that hearing, guys. Blake Davis rounding out your podium.
I suppose so. I mean, yeah, when you're on the podium, the crowd's going to be cheering, and so maybe he's trying to protect his hearing that way. But how about Matthew Skoltz, man? A big blowout in this championship. It's gone wide open, and with only 50 points on offer from this point, you have to say that Skoltz is in just complete command of that #1 plate.
Now he is, and he can go to Jersey. He's going to be sleeping pretty good before then.
He certainly will.
Yeah.
Our coverage continues from Circuit of the Americas after this.
Continuing with you live on MotoAmerica Live Plus to wrap up podium celebrations here in the Supersport category. One of the things that Tyler Scott said, Roger, was the second half of the season, just all of the work that's gone into being able to find some consistency for him aboard that Suzuki. You take a look, he won the race. It was race number 6 of the season back at Road America, and he's been able to put together a string of podiums now.
Yeah, and if you look at, even go back to Mid-Ohio, that second race, he almost won it as well. He was right there in contention, and he mentioned about mid-season and practice and qualifying that they've really been focusing on the race. And early on in the season, we had him in the pre-show. He mentioned he's trying to find the limit and not go over it. We've seen a couple crashes, and I think now he's found that limit, and now that he's getting some confidence and putting some race results together, he's gaining some confidence, which therefore you're able to raise that limit a little bit more.
Blake Davis being back on the podium, his 6th one of the season here in his debut in the Supersport category. We thought it was going to be a big season of him having to grow and get comfortable, but he came right out at Road Atlanta, finishing 2nd in race number 1, and he's proven all throughout the season that he's one of the riders to look at going into the future.
Yeah, and such a young rider. He's got a bright future. Started out Road Atlanta strong, a little bit downhill mid-season.
Circuit of the Americas Supersport race number 2 is complete. Matthew Skoltz, Ty Scott, Blake Davis, Corey Alexander, Jake Lewis, your top 5 in this one. And Matthew Skoltz gets to celebrate a podium with his father. Oh, that's so cool. They're here from South Africa. This track racing team enjoying that. But Jay, race 2 especially, the beginning was an absolute scrap.
Yeah, it was. You see Ty Scott gets the lead up in the front there. And PJ followed in with Matthew Skoltz, Jake Lewis just behind. Ty Scott looks like he's working his way up into 5th, or trying to at that point. Matthew took a shot at PJ in the S's on about lap 2 or 3, Greg, and then PJ was able to get a draft and go by both of them at the end of the back straightaway. But look at that R6 turn, like we said earlier. That was the spot where he had his big moment, but he was really fast in there, and you can see here, PJ was pretty defensive early. Blake Davis tries to get to the lead, and he's going to do so. He'd make a small mistake, and you can see when he went through, Matthew went with him. Ty Scott went with him as well. But that, like I said, Matthew's bike through the S's was the key to the victory here. I think if you went back and asked him again where he felt like he was the strongest, it was there. But this other spot that he was strong in almost also cost him. And I think that when he saw that he still had a gap after that big mistake, you know, probably gave him a little bit of a boost, Greg. And Ty Scott slides into 2nd. This is the one we don't like to see here. I hate seeing PJ Jacobsen crash out of the points lead, or crash out of the points rather, and now the lead's going to be even bigger. So for Matthew, you know, good rebound from yesterday. Like he said, he's led every session, Greg, and he's had a tremendous year so far, and a very deserving winner.
So for Matthew Skoltz, he'll enjoy the celebrations and signing autographs, and our coverage will roll on from Supersport Race 2.
We are back here at Circuit of the Americas. It's a quiet racetrack. Right now, Roger Hayden is, when we put a period here on the Supersport category. We have 3 Superbike races here this weekend. It's a triple header weekend for all of these riders. The next time we have bikes out on the racetrack, it will be that 3rd and final race.
And you got to thank the riders. Have talked about how tough this weekend has been with the heat, and the track's really physical. And they've already did one Superbike race just a couple hours ago. It really wasn't that long. So we'll see what riders are really hydrated and how they're going to be able to perform this 3rd race.
That was a great race, too. Being able to watch Sean Dillon Kelly get his first Superbike victory in his maiden series here, his maiden season here in the Superbike category. Of course, the champion in the Supersport days. But do you think he can repeat?
I think he can. He showed the pace yesterday. He was right at the front before his bike had that mechanical. So I think today he's able to be there.
MotoAmerica Supersport coverage is brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
This is what we've been waiting for. The championship standings with only 2 races to go in this category. And it's 39 points the difference. We came in here, it was 25. And then yesterday, PJ was able to cut it to 14. And unfortunately, with an early exit, just a couple corners to go. And now it's opened up to 39. So only Skoltz and PJ remain in this championship. Now, Jason Pridmore, we are off to New Jersey Motorsports Park here in just under 2 weeks' time. So what do you think if you're PJ? What do you think if you're Matthew Skoltz?
Well, for Matthew now he can go into championship mode if he chooses to. The thing about New Jersey, Greg, is it's kind of a tighter track. It's the shortest track we have on our calendar. So there could be a lot more people in contention at that track. So he's going to want to keep himself out of trouble. For PJ, he's just got to go to try to and win both races, and that's his only hope at this point with Matthew 39 points up. So it's kind of a shame because it's been a real fun championship to watch this year. Those two have been so close. There's been some rivalries, some contact and things like that you'd hope you'd get with a little bit of a rivalry, but to see it end the way it did this weekend at COTA, the races it's making New Jersey maybe not as dramatic as we could have had it.
There's a wild card though, and that is the new asphalt of New Jersey Motorsports Park. What's it going to be like? Is it smooth? Is it bumpy? You would think it's going to be smooth, but we've heard different reports. Plus, how's it going to act with the tires? Because some racetracks we go to, so anything can happen. That is when you're going to join us from New Jersey Motorsports Park in Millville, New Jersey, for the final round of the 2024 season in Supersport. This championship has yet to be decided. Are you going to be there when it is? We hope so. For Hannah, Jason, and our entire crew, thanks for watching. We'll see you in a couple weeks from New Jersey.